Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show presented by Kia. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. And this week, the Hurricanes are home against the Louisville Cardinals at Hard Rock Stadium. Final home game of the year, 12 o'clock kickoff. So I'd like to see a great crowd there and reward this team after last week's great effort against Florida State. This game is very meaningful. If Louisville wins, they go to the championship game. So Miami has to play the role of spoiler. Quick look back 1 week. Hurricanes went eyeball to eyeball with the fourth-rated team in the country, came up a little bit short.
Just a little short, Joe. It's actually ended how we wanted it to end, right? Miami with the football to have a chance to win at the end of the game. They had it. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out. But Miami started 5 true freshmen in that ball game and closed the gap significantly from just a year ago.
Okay, this week it's Louisville, probably the biggest surprise in the league. They're ranked 9th in the country. They run the ball really well, and their defense just kind of swarms everywhere.
Yeah, I think the side of the football that's underrated is the defensive side. No one thought about that coming into the season. Everybody talked about Coach Brom and how he puts his offense together, and Plummer, who he had at Purdue, and they were going to be productive. It's really been defense, defense, and more defense.
All right, we will talk with head coach Mario Cristobal about Florida State, Emory Williams, and Louisville. All of that is coming up next. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mario Cristobal Show presented by Kia. Joe Zagacki, my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr., of course, the head coach, Mario Cristobal. This week, the University of Miami home against another top 10 opponent. 9th-ranked Louisville comes into Hard Rock Stadium, 12 o'clock kickoff. Hope to see you there for that one. It'll be a big one for the Hurricanes. Coach, great game against Florida State in Tallahassee. Probably should start. I just know a lot of Hurricane fans probably want to know about Emory Williams. They saw what happened. He gave such a great effort, laid everything on the line on that 4th down play. How's he doing?
He's doing well. Certainly, has suffered a significant injury and had some work done. And by later today, he should be up and moving around. But he'll be healthy for spring ball, and he appreciates everybody's thoughts and prayers.
Coach, let's talk about the level of care these young men get. I mean, from the second the incident happened in Tallahassee through this very moment, just top shelf care and attention to detail provided by everybody involved.
Without a doubt, and the medical staff here has always been elite, and their urgency in the matter, the care factor matter, was off the charts. Credit to those in Tallahassee as well. They certainly worked in conjunction with our people to make sure that everything was expedited and he could be taken over to the hospital to make sure there were no serious issues surrounding that injury. And by the time we got to the airport, he was on the plane back with us and got him back here, and he's going to be in good shape.
Coach, the thing that I picked up on that is that the game is the game, the rivalry is the rivalry, but as soon as that happened, it went right to the focus of the player. And that was the most important thing. Emory Williams was the most important thing for everybody involved.
Well, he just wanted to win. I mean, all he wanted to know throughout, as much as that's a tough situation. He just wanted to know if he got the first down. That's all he wanted to know, and that we would be able to keep going and going. So, awesome young man. Certainly, he played his guts out and has a bright future.
You made the tough decision to make him the starting quarterback for that game. It comes down to the last drive. You outgained Florida State, you outrushed Florida State, and you made, as I said, the decision to go with a freshman quarterback. When you looked at it all, the totality of it, how did it all work out for you? Other than the score, which we know.
Yeah, statistically, it was a very even game. It's games like that, when they're that close, it comes down to a play here and a play there, right? And there's a handful of plays, particularly the punt return. They got us. We've been really good on special teams, and really good. And that punt return is caused by a snap that's a little bit off. That now the ball has to get off quicker. The cover seam isn't down there quick enough, and then all of a sudden you get split. But everybody was busting their butt. And I think when you look at it on tape, we played extremely hard. And the DNA continues to get better in those regards: resiliency, toughness, physicality, knocking people around, getting knocked down, getting back up. And we had the ball, at midfield, 1st and 10 with over a minute to go. And we've been good in those situations before. And everyone, they poured everything out on that field, and we came up short.
Coach, let's stay on special teams. I think something that would have been I don't want to get overlooked is what Frank Ladson did.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the play of the day in a lot of respects. He was prepared for it and came up with it.
Yeah, when we, number one, tremendous play by him because he went up and got that. And then credit to Jaden Harris, too, for recognizing that. And he sprints over and gets enough of the defender where Frank could go up and make that play. And for us, it got our sideline enthused because we felt, all right, if they went that route, they know that this is a real thing, and that our defense is playing well enough where they're trying to gain a possession. So credit to those guys for coming up with a recovery. We drove down, actually took the lead on that particular drive. So again, credit to Frank for a great play there.
This was the real Miami, Florida State. This was real deal on this past weekend. Had all the ingredients, all the boxes were checked. It was similar to the games that you probably played in Tallahassee. It showed that your team can play on the big stage and go eyeball to eyeball with a top 5 team in the country. And then I thought you said something interesting as well in your press conference on Monday about your team's attitude, being driven. Is that something you take out of that game?
Yeah, we went there to win, and we knew we could win. We felt we could win, and we didn't. So we're upset, we're disappointed, but we're driven because we feel like the progress of ourselves, like by the way that we're operating, by the things that we're doing in terms of executing, our levels of physicality, resiliency, and then playing together. And we've got to put 4 quarters together. We've got to put a complete game together, especially in tight games like that, especially in games where the opponent has, a lot of really talented players. So driven is the right word. It's back to work. There's no one sitting around and, sulking or whatnot. It's not the result we wanted. We're never going to settle for that or a consolation prize or praise when we don't win. So we just want to get back to work and go win.
Coach, I want to make sure everybody realizes this because when I was putting my chart together for the Florida State game, it was a lot of redshirt juniors and redshirt seniors, a very old football team. The quarterback is a 6-year guy. Mm-hmm. I go back and I'm on the flight home, I'm looking at who's playing for us. Started five true freshmen. They started the ball game in almost a 6th. I mean, Riley came in a couple series into the ball game, but a lot of youth on the side of Miami, but it also will pay benefits down the road.
Well, without a doubt, and you know what? They're playing because they earned it, okay? And they're part of a historical recruiting class, and their teammates have done a great job in helping those guys prepare. But they earned that playing time. We don't just give it away. Those guys earned it, and it's an indication of what talent is going to look like here, as the years go by. Because when you think of Miami, you think of a roster just laden with that caliber of a player on there. And we have some really good older guys. We have some guys that are, in the middle right there as well that are sophomores and juniors. They're also really good players. But our roster is now going to get thicker. It's going to continue to develop more and more. They're going to develop, and we're going to get more talented. So that part is really exciting, but really proud of them because those guys, they went against some really good players. And for the most part, we're very successful in their one-on-ones.
You knew this was going to be a heavyweight trench battle. And when you got here, your vision was to rebuild both offensive line and defensive line. And clearly that is showing up not only in previous games, but it showed up on Saturday against Florida State, your line play on both sides.
Yeah, that was probably the most glaring part of the team that needed to be addressed upon arrival. And that's also the hardest part because it takes time to develop, right? You've got to lift weights, you've got to eat the right way, you've got to train a certain way. And that part has taken a drastic step, right, in the right direction where all of a sudden, we're starting to look like what it's supposed to look like, and we're able to, to take control of the line of scrimmage more times than not and be disruptive on defense and controlling on offense.
Coach Mark Fletcher, we've been documenting, of course, his yards and his carries and his yards per carry, but I don't think what's been talked about enough for someone of his age, and that he did come in the summer, is what he does without the football. He made some key blocks that made things happen for Miami in the passing game as well.
Without a doubt, and that's the hardest part for a running back is protections, right? Because those guys got to do a lot. Those eyes have to be disciplined. They got to understand what the call is, how it relates to the front, how it relates to the pressure, and then find the guy that you may be blocking. And that thing could go from one side of the field to the other. It could be as simple as one particular guy. It could be as simple as an area. But it takes a lot of time. Credit to him. Credit to Coach Tim Harris, who spends an extraordinary amount of time with those guys, getting them ready. The backs in general have just done a really good job in pass pro.
We should mention that you discussed in your press conference, Tyler Van Dyke's going to be your starting quarterback on Saturday, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, against Louisville. They sent out a couple of dragons at wide receiver, guys with big catch radius. And you started a freshman Brown, Damari Brown. He did well. Then Jadaeus Richard, he was battling all afternoon. How those guys do for you?
Yeah, both Jadis and Damari, they played really well. They did. Did they make some plays? They made some plays. Those are good players, and credit to them. Those are good players that they were able to get in the portal that have been really, really productive. And for a true freshman, a true sophomore to go out there and battle and really limit, them to maybe not the type of production they're used to having, but they did have a touchdown, a couple. But overall, those guys competed really well, and they gave us a chance to win the football game.
Jacoby George, record day for him on a big stage and made some things happen.
He did, and when he got loose, he created some chunk plays, really moved the sticks for us, put us in position to score, scored himself. A couple times he was outstanding, and it's a great game for him to build on as well, so that he can really, his talents and his drive and his work is really going to have to continue to push forward to help us get better and better on offense.
That touchdown, I don't know how he caught it, but he didn't flinch. There were two guys in his vision, looked like they were going to collide, but he just kind of glided right to the ball.
Well, he did a good job not showing, or showing late hands, right, and slowing down enough to create space for that ball to get there, and just had great concentration, hauled it in. Once he hauled it in, the rest was just getting to the end zone.
Coach, defensively, the game plan for Miami was very, very impressive. I mean, Miami matched physically, they matched speed-wise, even with the youth on it. Talk about that group as a unit, the entire defense and their performance.
Just playing at a really high level. You could see the speed at which they're playing is one that shows you there's confidence and there's complete ownership of the scheme. Because they're moving fast, they're getting there with intentions, right, to knock people back, to force turnovers, to hurry the quarterback, right, create negative plays. They did all that stuff. And albeit for a couple plays that got loose, just played a really, really good football game. Those guys gave us every opportunity to win that football game against a really talented offense that has scored a lot of points.
All right, Coach, we'll talk more about the Louisville Cardinals, but first, time for our Kia High Performance Moment of the Week. And what a moment this was, the moment of truth. Don, Jacoby George down the right sideline, Hurricanes down by 2 touchdowns, and Emory Williams, 85 yards, the longest touchdown reception ever for Miami in a game against Florida State.
Jacoby George is doubled up. He gets some help from the safety as he comes across, and then all of a sudden he makes the play, Joe. And you got to credit Jacoby for his focus on the football. You'll see right here, he just zones in on it, takes it with both hands, starts sprinting down the sideline, and then Emory Williams, the touch on that pass. It was absolutely perfect. A good, clean pocket provided by that offensive line, and then, of course, a celebration after an 85-yard touchdown.
The Kia High Performance Moment of the Week. This week, it is Miami and Louisville at Hard Rock Stadium. 12 o'clock kickoff as the Cardinals come in. They're looking to play the championship game. Everything riding on this game for Louisville. A lot riding on it for you, and I imagine a quick start is also important. They've outscored their opponents 76-7 in the first quarter.
Yes, they have a very talented team, and they're playing at a high level. And it starts with the same thing with the line of scrimmage for them on both sides of the ball. And on defense, you'll see it statistically. They're as disruptive as it gets. From a tackles for loss standpoint, sack standpoint, forcing turnovers, stopping the run, anywhere from top 3 to top 10 in the country, just about every statistic. And that, I'll tell you, when they get to the quarterback, they hit him hard. Very talented on the back end as well. They play man coverage, a lot of post safety stuff, and they're complemented by an offense that is also a top 10, top 20 offense in just about every statistical category. So very explosive on both sides of the ball, very disruptive on defense. Great opportunity for our football team.
Their quarterback, Jack Plummer, came from Cal, but he was at Purdue for, I believe, 4 years with Coach Brom. So there's, as far as the vocabulary goes, they jumped right on it. But he's very efficient. When I watch him, that's his number one thing. He's going to throw completions.
Mm-hmm. Great player, knows the system, complete command of the offense, and he makes it go. And he's complemented, again, by a great offensive line. Those guys are big, and they're fast, and they're physical, athletic. And those running backs, they get downhill, and you saw last week, what changed the game? 70-plus yard run, right? 70-plus yard pass, right? Block punt. They find different ways to win by playing complementary football, and they've had a great season.
The kid Jordan, almost 1,000 yards, and then Garendo is the big back. He's kind of tries to bludgeon people on the heels of talking about that run game. What do you see from those two guys individually?
Well, exactly what you said. I mean, they can run by you. They've run through people. They've run around them. They scheme things up in so many different ways, from inside, outside zone, power, counter, sweeps. They find different ways to get the ball to their playmakers, and they've been very effective. And they're going to keep finding formations. They're going to keep finding schematical things that can help get the ball in the hands of those guys and make people pay.
Ashton Gillette, number 9, the defensive end, plays along the front there. He was a South Florida guy, Boca Raton guy, but you have got to make sure you know where number 9 is every snap.
Number 9, he is one of the best players that we have seen at any position all year long. Okay, because they move around a lot on defense. So he could be outside, and he's typically to the field. There have been some instances where he's to the boundary, but when they get in their bare front, he's working as that 3 to the 4 eye, to working the tackle, to working the guard. All the stunts that they run, that guy is. It's not only that he's making plays; it's his relentless motor. He just keeps coming and coming and coming, and he wills his way and works his way into a lot of negative plays, sacks, turnovers. He's really, really an impressive football player.
I have to mention, this is dear to your heart. Both of you guys, you're playing for the Howard Schnellenberger Bronze Boot Trophy. Now, it's supposed to be every year. Miami and Louisville are going to play 3 times in 7 years. But nonetheless, Howard coached here and he coached there, and they've created a trophy for this game. So, but it's meaningful because it's Howard Schnellenberger.
It belongs here in Miami, Joe.
It does belong here.
It's tremendously meaningful to us, myself personally. I know you as well, Don, personally. And it's, this is a rivalry game. Okay? Right. This is a rivalry game. And this is something that means a lot to both teams, to both head coaches. We're both coaching at our alma mater. There's a lot at stake here, and this is exactly why you play college football. And we have a chance to play it in our place in front of our people, so we're excited about the opportunity.
Coach, when you look at Louisville and games like this, and it is rivalry, there's something that always comes up, and I bring it up almost every week, is special teams. And that's something that you can't overlook in this one as well. They work very hard on their side of it, and I know we do on ours. Without
a doubt. I mean, there's hidden yardage, right? Points, every extra point, right? Defending, being aware of fakes, right? Having people in position. I mean, think of all the things that have to go well for a return to be successful, just to get beyond the 25-yard line, right? Those extra 10 yards, that could be the difference in a field goal down the stretch. That could be the difference in punting and putting a team down inside their 5-yard line, right? That hidden yardage comes out to be so important as the game rolls on, and it's critical that everyone on those teams understands the value of every special team snap.
As you mentioned, the Florida State game was gut-wrenching, but this team is ranked 9th in the country. Is part of the deal this week, trying to physically and mentally get your team back to that same level that they were last week against Florida State, because as you said, Louisville, they're playing for a ton of things. They're playing for a chance to play in the conference championship game.
Yeah, the standard is a standard, and that's your absolute best. It's never going to dip, no matter when we play, what day, what time, the opponent, that's never ever going to dip. And I think whenever you have a chance to play, and there's a lot of familiar faces, right? These guys played against each other in high school. They come across each other in all-star games. When you get at this point in the season, the intensity just heightens that much more. So we are expecting an awesome, awesome game, and we're really excited about it.
Coach, this time of year is really when the conditioning and the diet and everything really kicks in, is really the month of November, because you can kind of go with some wind in your sails early on. But how are you holding up now? Because visually, you guys look like you're doing a great job with that.
Well, the nutrition staff, along with sports science and strength and conditioning, they bust their tails day and night. I mean, they hawk people down, forcing the right stuff down their throat, and the vitamins and minerals that go with it, extra recovery exercises, mobility exercises. And then, I mean, we never compromise the physicality of practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but you just have to monitor the rep count on certain guys that have gone successive weeks of high loads. You got to be smart, right? Because we do have 2 games in a 12, 13-day period after traveling extensively, getting back at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, and now you're shrunk into a Saturday and a Friday game at noon. So that's cutting down your recovery time significantly. You've got to do things on the other side to make sure that you get there as fresh as possible also.
We're also, as you mentioned, late November here now, and not too far away from recruiting day. And maybe guys are out there trying to make a decision. Maybe some have already made their decision, but they're trying to make a decision. I think it's easy to see your vision, especially after what happened up there in Tallahassee. Don mentioned 5 freshmen playing in that game. Also, the development of some of these younger players. Guys who might be on the fence, maybe there's some clarity there because your vision is starting to unfold here.
Well, there's lots of clarity because we've always been honest and transparent about how we're going to do this, how we're going to progress, how we're putting it together, and those things are coming to fruition. And we've had some success this year. We've had some tough games, but every single game has either been gone our way or gone down to the fourth quarter, down to the wire, and that shows a significant jump, significant progress in what we're doing and where we're headed.
And pick up on that also, because you do a big part of recruiting now is the portal. But you didn't hit the portal so much that guys coming out of high school were neglected, and also just enough, I think, in the portal that young guys have somebody to look at that can help teach them, because that's what a program really needs too, right? Upperclassmen leadership, and I think your young guys are getting that.
They are, and I think we have a really good combination because the whole thing is always making sure that we continue to progress to the point where it is completely sustainable and doesn't go backwards. That means it's layered with classes, right, at different positions. The right kind of depth, not overstacking, but never being too thin where you could take a step backwards. So we do have some portal players, but we're much more high school laden as a roster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, but we're always looking for the best players at any position, highly impactful guys at any position we're going to go get. And I think that both portal players and high school players see that Miami is a program that's on the rise, that development here is real, that guys are getting real opportunities, that what they're being told is coming to fruition, and that they can combine that with the best education and the best city in the country. So it's a great combination. And again, you know how we feel about recruiting, right? It's all about people. About people in your building and people in your organization. We're driven as you can possibly be.
And Coach, let's spend a minute on that. It's one thing to be told you can come play as a freshman. It's another thing to look at a program and see the proof that freshmen can play. You're old enough to play if you can play. You really don't classify anybody in a class. If you're able to compete, you're going to play. It doesn't matter what year you're in or how long you've been here or how short a time you've been here.
That's right. That's right. The data is the data, and I think it's neat because we don't ever negative recruit. I don't believe in that. I mean, if a player comes to your school because you're negative recruiting, But you do present facts so that you could always shoot down false narratives, right? So you could always draw your comps, right? Your comparables can really paint a really accurate picture. All right, this is the first full recruiting class on the field. These are guys that have been here that are developing. What is the program doing? How is it progressing? Who's playing? How many snaps are they getting? What's their production? What's their academic status? What are they doing in the community? What's their internships look like? All those things are real, and we have all that always front and center to show that this is all-encompassing. Football, life after football.
Well, I'll wrap it up and wrap the show up with this. You're on the fence on what you just talked about. On Saturday, you made the most critical decision to start a true freshman at the most critical position in the biggest game in the toughest gin joint to play in probably in the country, and you went with a true freshman that has been developed since he got here and developed enough that up until the final seconds, the game was hanging in the balance. So if there's a kid out there wondering where to go, I don't know. You put a true freshman out there, that's showing confidence in your players.
Well, we're always going to do what's best for the team. Decisions aren't always easy, as you know. They could be challenging, but the most important thing is to always do right by the team and by the players, regardless of how personally difficult those things may be.
All right, best of luck on Saturday against Louisville.
Thank you.
That's University of Miami head coach Mario Cristobal. We'll continue on the show right after this. Back on the Mario Cristobal Show, presented by Kia. Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr., Miami and Louisville on Saturday at 12 o'clock at Hard Rock Stadium. Cardinals come in, a win, and they're in. They'll play Florida State. It's Miami's job to knock them out.
That it is, Joe. And don't forget, this game is a rivalry, and there's a lot to play for. The Coach Schnellenberger Trophy is going to be on display, and the winner takes it home until the next time.
Yep. Playing for the Howard Schnellenberger Brown Boots Trophy.
That's right. The Battle of the Boots. That's what it's about. But it's going to be an exciting day, and it's going to take a lot of effort from the University of Miami because this is, as you mentioned, a top 10 team.
Hurricanes been able to run the football pretty well the last couple of weeks. Have to continue that trend.
There's no question. That's the bread and butter that Miami does, and that's what they want to have established, that they are a running football team.
Okay, for Don Bailey Jr. and Hurricanes head coach Mario Cristobal, I'm Joe Zagacki. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the Mario Cristobal Show.